This is also amazing. Yesterday, Michael, I believe, right, talked about the way a reporter was
Reporter.
a student reporter who was covering the Texas GOP convention. A woman named Hiba Said, who was a senior at the University of Texas. She was at the Republican GOP convention, and she was really apparently accosted because she had the poor taste of wearing a hijab to this convention, where everybody else was probably wearing big, tall cowboy hats, because that's normal.
It's traditional.
That's traditional. Well, apparently, yesterday at the Heritage Foundation, representatives of prominent conservative groups were there for a session about the unanswered questions involving Benghazi. And Saba Ahmed, an American University law student, stood up and asked a question. Here is that question that she asked.
Assalamu alaikum. Peace to you all. My name is Saba Ahmed. I'm a law student at American University. I am here to ask you a simple question. I know that we portray Islam and all Muslims as bad, but there's 1.8 billion Muslim followers of Islam. We have 8 million plus Muslim Americans in this country, and I don't see them represented here. But my question is, how can we fight an ideological war with weapons? How can we ever end this war? The jihadist ideology that you talk about, it's an ideology. How can you ever win this thing if you don't address it ideologically?
And then at that point, one of the panelists, Brigitte Gabriel of a group called ACT, exclamation point, went on an extended rant, really taking offense to the idea of introducing the notion that there are this many Muslims around the world who are not ready to attack America. And just listen to the fervor in which this woman is attacked. And I liked at least she started, the audience rather, and I like at least the way that Gabrielle starts it off. Like, I'm so glad you're here, because now I get a chance to say this to your face.
Great question. I am so glad you're here, and I am so glad you brought that up because it gives us an opportunity to answer. What I find so amazing is since the beginning of this panel, which we are here about Benghazi attack against our people, not one person mentioned Muslims. We are here against Islam, or we're launching war against Muslims. We are here to discuss how 4 Americans died and what our government is doing. We were not here to bash Muslims. You were the one who brought up the issue about most Muslims, not us. And since you brought it up, allow me to elaborate with my answer. There are 1.2 billion Muslims in the world today. Of course, not all of them are radicals. The majority of them are peaceful people. The radicals are estimated to be between 15 to 25%, according to all intelligence services around the world. That leaves 75% of them peaceful people. But when you look at 15 to 25% of the world Muslim population, you're looking at 180 million to 300 million people dedicated to the destruction of Western civilization.
Pause it. Wow, they got to get their act together, because if there's 300 million people dedicated to this, they sure are losing.
Not together.
Yeah.
Is as big of the United States. So why should we worry about the radicals, 15 to 25%? Because it is the radicals that kill. Because it is the radicals that behead and massacre. When you look throughout history, when you look at all the lessons of history, most Germans were peaceful. Yet the Nazis drove the agenda. And as a result, 60 million people died. Almost 14 million in concentration camps, 6 million were Jews. The peaceful majority were irrelevant. When you look at Russia, most Russians were peaceful as well. Yet the Russians were able to kill 20 million people. The peaceful majority were irrelevant. When you look at China, for example, most Chinese were peaceful as well. Yet the Chinese were able to kill 70 million people. The peaceful majority were irrelevant. When you look at Japan prior to World War II, most Japanese were peaceful as well. Yet Japan was able to butcher its way across Southeast Asia, killing 12 million people, mostly killed with bayonets and shovels.
Pause. It sounds to me like we should be looking out and doing a hearing on the Russians, the Germans, the Japanese, and the Chinese, too. And while we're at it, I don't know if these folks at the Heritage Foundation were aware of just in the past 10 years or so, we killed a couple 100,000 Iraqi civilians. And apparently, we have ushered in a much bigger opportunity for a lot more to die. But whatever. Let's go back to the Muslims.
The peaceful majority were irrelevant. On September 11th in the United States, we had 2.3 million Arab Muslims living in the United States. It took 19 hijackers, 19 radicals to bring America down to its knees, destroy the World Trade Center, attack the Pentagon, and kill almost 3,000 Americans that day. The peaceful majority were irrelevant. So for all our powers of reasons and us talking about moderate and peaceful Muslims, I'm glad you're here. But where are the others speaking out? And since you are the only Muslim representative...
I think the point that she was making when she stood up was that there's no other Muslims. You didn't put any Muslims on the panel. So how can they speak out except for me speaking out?
Save the applause till the end.
This is like they're having like some type of party. Like this is we just won the World Cup.
And since you're the only Muslim representative in here, you took the limelight instead of speaking about why our government, and I assume, are you an American? You're an American citizen. So as an American citizen, you sat in this room and instead of standing up and saying a question or asking something about our 4 Americans that died and what our government is doing to correct the problem, you stood there to make a point about peaceful, moderate Muslims. I wish you brought 10 with you to question about how we can hold our government responsible. It is time we take political correctness and throw it in the garbage where it belongs and stop calling it.
Well, they sure taught that woman a lesson. And who was that woman? Well, Saba Ahmed, apparently, as reported by the Oregonian back in 2011, was a young Muslim woman from Beaverton who ran in the Democratic primary for Oregon's 1st District congressional seat that year. And on Facebook, she had said that she had switched to the Republican Party. Never thought I would see this day, but I'm officially registered Republican. Thank you all. Thank you to all the Oregon Democrats for helping me realize my conservative potential. Looking forward to 2012 Republican victories. My conservative Islamic values, pro-life, pro-family values, pro-business, made it very hard for me to defend myself as a Democrat. George Bush advocated waterboarding torture just like Obama advocated drone missiles. Both parties treat Muslims badly, which is why American economy is going bankrupt fighting Islam. Inshallah, I look forward to helping foster a better understanding of our faith. And yes, I was banned from the Oregon Tea Party and Washington County Republicans earlier this year because of my Islamic beliefs. But I have to believe there's room for learning. I have to try and make a place for myself, even if I'm unwelcomed. I know several Tea Party Republicans hate me because they somehow blame me for 9/11, but I know once we talk to each other, get to know one another, we can all heal together. Inshallah. Well, I would say, don't look like that project's getting very far.
In nada.
No. So good for her for fighting what she perceives as the good fight, but good luck with that. She better get on that Benghazi train quick.
I love how she's she's basically complaining to her about how we're killing all these innocent Muslims overseas, and she comes back with, "But what about the 4 Americans?"
She actually comes back with, "Look, are they innocent? Maybe technically, but frankly, they're mediocre bystanders at best, so they don't really matter."
Right.
And I mean, that woman, Brigitte Gabriel, particularly, I mean, she just cashed in after September 11th and has been on every type of trope and propaganda you can imagine for the last 10, 15 years. It's amazing, actually, that she's still going.
What's impressive
She's next to Frank Gaffney on that panel,
Yeah.
and he didn't even say something crazy enough to be clipped out of that whole segment. I mean, that gives you a sense of how toxic that room was.